towards the today's class attendance, and I have already started sharing the slides which I have sent and which I have prepared today morning. I hope the slides are visible to your screens.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So always be interactive so that I can able to proceed based on your doubts or clarifications. So in today's 1 hour slot, my focus will be on the 1D arrays. Okay, so we will understand from the examination point of view how to answer the questions, and whichever point that you want me to repeat also I'll take up, giving the highest priority for your questions, and uh, any other concepts that you want me to repeat, even though we have discussed in the regular class. If you want me to repeat, do let me know. I will start, I'll start the repetition. Okay, so hope my audio as well as the slides both are coming to you. That means audio is you are in a position to hear, and slide is visible.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So let me also start sharing the Chrome. So is the Chrome is also visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So all those students who have joined, make ensure that you drop your roll numbers in the chat box so that I can consolidate and put it in the or upload the same in the college website. Now let me open the slides. So in the first half of today's class, I will discuss the steps that the student has to remember when you are asked to answer the questions which are pertaining to arrays in C++. Okay, so that can be the questions which are asked for 2 marks, or it could be the long answer questions, right? So what is the definition of an array? An array is the collection of similar data items which are stored together under a single tag name. Okay, so however, one record to the other record, they are different records, but the data type of those records are similar. In other words, an array is also defined as the collection of homogeneous data elements which are grouped together. And one of the examples to consider is, in order to store the marks of 60 students, it will be very cumbersome for a programmer, or it will be very tedious for a programmer to declare variables starting from S1 to S60, where S1 represents student 1 marks and the S60 represents 60th student marks. So therefore, declaring and defining the variables and processing the data of all these records with 60 such variables will be very cumbersome. So the process will be minimized if you use the concept of a array subscript, and this is why we have understood the importance of an array. And secondly, this array is an entry point of studying the data structure. Now this data is now being structurally placed in the memory, and always the memory is now continuous in array. So I hope these fundamentals are clear, and if anybody needs any repetition or needs clarity in terms of accessing the records from the record number 0 till record number minus n minus 1, you can interrupt me now. Okay. So please talk to me. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So is the definition of an array is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what we will do is first we will take up first one I have explained. I think these slides have shared in the groups as well as in the Google group, both in Google as well as some groups. So I request to the students to go through the questions once. So what we will do is, I think we know how to do sorting, how to do searching. In that you have bubble sort, selection sort, linear and binary search. Similarly, assume that you are asked to find the biggest or the smallest of the given array. Okay, finding the mean, variance, and standard deviation. So these are the standard problems of 1D arrays. And if in the question it is been not mentioned, it is not mentioned that you use a class unless and until you are explicitly asked to use a C++ class. There is no rule that you have to always solve the 1D arrays by using class. So for your information, what I'll do is, because question number 1, 2, 3, 4 we have already done, I'll take up question number 5, which is you are asked to find how many number of elements, how many number of data items are there in an array of n elements which are greater than k and which are greater than l and which are in between. So assume that you are asked to write a C++ function. So I am taking question number 5. Okay. So let me take the GDB compiler. Now my emphasis is not about the execution of the program, but I'm actually discussing the points that as a student you need to remember when you are answering the questions. Now assume that, okay, so assume that you are asked to write a C++ function to accept n integer elements and the number of elements return the number of elements which are greater than k, which are greater than p, and the number of elements which are in between. This is wrong. In between, like this. Okay. So assume that this is your requirement and this is for, let us say, 2 marks question. So write a C++ function to accept n integer elements and return the number of elements which are greater than k, greater than p, and in between k and p. Therefore, it is evident that you need to understand that the value of k is less than p. Okay. So how do you solve this? How do you solve this? Now notice that you don't have to use class because what has been asked is a function. It is a C++ function. Okay. So assume that your function name is. Did I started recording? Did I started recording?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. So assume that your function name is get count. Okay, so you have to pass the array, which is nothing but int star. Now you have to return 3 values. One is a number which is greater than, I mean, you need to find the number of elements which are greater than k, number of elements which are greater than p, and the number of elements which are in between k and p. Okay, so can anybody come in? How do you solve this? How do you write this? Yes. Yes. How do you do that? Uh, are you able to listen my voice? Can
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So int star, the first argument is the array. Now, how do you return multiple values from a single function? You can return multiple values from a single function only when you return an array. Okay, so but when you return an array, that means int star. Are you getting my point? Are you following? Okay. Now next argument is number of elements. This is int n. Next argument is number of elements which are greater than k, which is another integer. Next argument is number of elements which are greater than p and in between. So if you do this, then the answer has to be constructed inside get count function. Isn't it? Please talk to me. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. So if I do this, then I have to construct the answer inside get count function. But if I do that, I'll get the uh, L value error. Why? Because you cannot create an array inside a local function, and you cannot return that array when the function is dead. Let me repeat: you cannot create a array at runtime inside a local function, because as long as the function is alive, your locality of your variables exists. So if you do the syntax like this, then it gives you an error, which is the L value error. Okay. So instead, what you have to do is you return nothing, and you also take the answer as another argument. Okay. So the first argument is an array. The second argument is the answer. Notice that you allocate the memory. You assume that the memory of your answer array is already created in main. Then third argument is n. Fourth argument is k. Fifth argument is p. Instead of l, I am taking p, because l, you'll have confusion whether it is l or 1. Okay. Have you understood? Please talk to me. Have you understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let us start writing the function definition. So get count. Let us say int star a is your array. Int star answer is your answer array. Int n is your number of elements. Int p, what is that? Int k is the first element. Next int p is the second value which you have to process, and which you have to consider. Now what? So the scenario is in main. Okay. So you assume that you have an array, let us say of 10 is equal to, let us say, some values. एक, दो, तीन, चार, पाँच, छः, सात. Okay, so some values I have taken. Now assume that I want the value of k as, I'll take it as x. X is equal to, let us say, fine. X is equal to, I'll take it as 4. And then y is equal to, I'll take it as 50. Okay. Now I need answer, which is 3 elements. So initially I'll assume that this is equal to 0. Okay. Now what I'll do is, I'll say get count, answer, no, not answer. First is what? First is A. Second is answer. Third is number of elements, 10. Fourth is X. Fifth is Y. Then I have to print the values. See out the first element. That is nothing but the elements which are greater than X are the elements which are greater than X are where you are storing in answer of 0. Okay, so similarly the elements which are greater than y, you are storing it in answer of 1, and the other left out elements which are in between x and y, so this is between x and y, are answer of 2. Notice that writing main is not necessary, and you are asked to write the solution for 2 marks. Okay, so now what is the logic here? Here you run a loop starting from I is equal to 0, I is less than n. You take I plus plus. Okay. Now if what? If a of I is greater than k, then you increment the first element answer plus plus. Don't write else. Simply write if a of I again. If it is greater than capital P, then you say that answer of 1 plus plus. Now notice that answer of 0, answer of 1 and answer of 2 are already zeros in line number 26. Okay, but when you don't write main, then it is better to indicate that your answer, which is a local here, answer of 0 is equal to answer of 1 is equal to answer of 2 is equal to 0. Okay, so and then the last fellow, which is nothing but if answer of 0, no, not answer of 0, what is that? If a of I, is less than k, greater than, if it is greater than k, and a of I is less than p, then you increment answer of 2 plus plus. That's it. So you need to write starting from line number 4 till line number 18. So where this proper identification of function prototype along with the number of arguments with its appropriate data types and the function definition, function declaration and its signature mapping will carry 1 mark, and the logic representation will carry half mark, and your reasoning will carry another half mark. I mean, reasoning is implied within the logic itself. Can somebody respond whether you are all in a position to hear my voice and you are all following?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a main I need to return because this fellow expects an integer to be returned. I can't write void. Now, my intention is not to execute, but still let me execute. Okay, so as far as the question is concerned, you are supposed to write this if it is for 2 marks. Okay, so let me execute this. Okay, there are no libraries at all, so I need to define hash include IO stream, then using space std, and then I have to compile. Okay, so which are greater than x. X is, I have taken it as what? Taken x as 4. So the elements which are greater than 4 are 4. 1, 2, 3, other than 3 elements, excluding 4. So total will be 7. And the elements which are greater than 50 are, there is only one element. The element in between 4 and 50, you have 6 elements. Okay, clear? Am I clear? This is how.
Sir,
Yeah, am I clear? I got a call in between, so I think I lost the signal. Can somebody acknowledge whether my audio is coming?
yes, sir.
Is my
Yes,
audio
sir.
coming? Okay, fine. Now assume that you are asked to do this, and you are asked to implement this as a member function. So assume that you are asked to implement this as a member function, and no further details are given. And this is, let us say, for 4 marks. Okay. Then you don't have to write everything starting from hash include. Okay. So what you have to do is, because you are asked to implement a member function, this cannot be a general function, isn't it? Which is line number 6. So you assume that there is a class. Let us say the class name is sample. Okay, so this is your class. Now assume that you have a private data item and then you have public member functions. Now he is asking you to implement a member function. So this fellow will come and sit inside the member function. Okay. But you also need to categorically identify what is the data. So also notice that you are not asked to define or maintain the elements at runtime. So meaning you take int a of max. Okay, so and then you write hash define max. Let us say 10. Okay, and then you also need to know the number of elements. So let us identify the number of elements as n. So these two, you are assuming it as minimum data attributes of your data sample. And there could be some additional data elements which the problem might have. So you can write dash dash dash. Now, since the question is asked to implement a member function, can somebody respond? Is my audio is coming?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So now notice that this get count will become as a member function. Okay. And here this is void because you are constructing the answer. Now I don't need to pass the array. So first argument is not required. I don't need to pass the number of elements, meaning the second argument is also not required. But the third and fourth arguments are required because I'm not identifying that as the potential data members. And then it can also have some additional member functions. So that means dash dash dash. So this is step 1. Now what am I talking about? I am talking about if there is a real world, real life problem which is given to you in the external exams, asking you to implement a member function which is a part of the code, not the entire code. Don't write the entire program and waste your time. Instead, the important blocks of the entire source code needs to be replicated so that the assessor or the evaluator can able to know that you are in a position to decompose a real world problem into a meaningful approach or approachable solution. So as a part of this, we're assuming that there is an array which is a private data element with n number of elements. Now don't construct array, don't ask n, don't do anything, because what has been asked is you focus on member function. Because already array is there and number of elements are there, there is no meaning of handshaking a and then n as the list of arguments in get count, because then you don't know what is the concept of data privacy. Okay, so that's the reason why I have deleted the two arguments which are int star, which is the first argument, which earlier when we have used as a member function, sorry, as a non-member function, we have to mandatorily pass an array. Now it is not required, because when you use an object directly, the object can able to access these two fellows. Okay. Now next what? Next, don't concentrate on function. Don't concentrate on function. Directly go to main. Now in main also don't write the entire program. What has to be written now? You have to create an object. So that means what? Means what? Remove all this. Just removing till here. Till here. So what I'm doing is, you assume that you are creating an object sample s1, and with that sample s1 there is something which has to be done. What has been asked to you is, you are asked to find s1 dot get count, but now in that process you need answer. So after declaring the answer, you now call s1 dot get count of, now you don't have to pass a, you don't have to pass 10, but you have to pass x and y. So you ask the user to enter the values of x and y. So maybe declare x and y and then see out. So to be precise, these are nothing but k and p. Enter k and p. Now whatever user is entering, so you accept that as x and y. Now, if you want k and p itself, you can use, but fine. You want to use k and p, fine. Use k and then p. This is k. Sorry, this is k. And this is p. Anyway, these fellows are local. This local, that local, they are not different. Sorry, they are not same. So this is k and then this is p. Okay, so now as a result, you will get answer 0, answer 1 and answer 2. Then don't return, you just write dash 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 dash. So this is how you have to write, but still this is not yet complete because the member function is not correct. Okay, so when you think about writing the member function, first is the return type. Next, where is it? It is in sample. Scope, get count. First fellow is not required. Second fellow is required. Third fellow is not required. Okay, and then this is okay. Then this is also okay. Then this is A is accessible. This is also. So the point is, if it is asked for a long answer question, how are you in a position to decompose the problem into the approachable or a meaningful solution will carry 1 mark. That means your problem design will carry 1 mark. And second is, how are you writing the language specific logic where you have identified the data and then appropriate member function, the syntax. This will carry another 1 mark, meaning your class. Then how are you invoking the object? This will carry 1 mark. And another 2 marks will be about this syntax as well as the logic. Syntax will carry typically half mark, and then sometimes if logic is little deeper, then it will carry 1.5 mark, otherwise 1 mark. Okay, so this is how every student has to keep in. You are answering the specifically asked in the external exams. You have to keep these points in mind and start solving it. Okay, so it is same as your mathematics. How do you say like you evaluate in value of x for the following expression? Okay, so you say that let x be the solution. So similarly, let sample be the class. Okay, are you following? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Now assume that you are asked to maintain an array at runtime. Then what is the change you have to make? Remove this fellow. So write a C++ member function to accept n integer elements at runtime. And return the number of elements which are in between k and greater than p. Then what has to be done? You have to take star a. Okay. Then you have to write mandatorily the constructor. What is that constructor? Sample of, let us say, void, or you can also write sample of int equal to 0, default initializer. You're getting my point? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Getting it confused, then I recommend you write a default constructor. Now what you do is in main, okay, once this fellow is called, which is line number 34, then this will invoke the default constructor. Now you have to write a default constructor and the destructor, because in the destructor you have to disallocate the memory. So meaning what? Destructor will sit at the end. So you write after dash 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 sample of void semicolon dot sample. In that again sample of void. Now here you ask the user, you enter the number of data elements, which is n. Okay. Now take that into n. So now n is known. Now you allocate the memory, meaning a is equal to new int of n. Okay. Now if null is double equal to a, then you can say that there is no RAM. Okay. Now you can say that cout there is no RAM. There is no RAM, and then you can terminate this by exit of 0, because you cannot do anything. Otherwise you can accept the elements. Read the array. So how do you read the array? You can write for I is equal to 0, I is less than n plus already n is entered. So then you ask the users, you enter cout, enter the value of a of I is equal to, and then cin a of I. Okay. So this ends the constructor. Then this is your, as usual, is the member function. Now in the member function, notice that you have taken answer, which is a static array in the main. You have taken a member function which is a static array in the main. So instead you can use this also as a dynamic array. So you can say that int star answer is equal to new int of 3. Okay. Then you are asking kp, then you are passing this, you are printing it. Once you have printed it, then you need to delete the local array, which is nothing but delete of answer here. And once you are coming back here, you will be invoking a destructor. So therefore you have to do what? You have to do sample scope destructor sample of void. You need to delete of a, because a is the element, a is the array that you have considered as the data element in the sample. So this is the approach that you have to adhere, or that you have to stick, or that you have to follow. So here selection of your variables, selection of your class name, selection of your member functions, selection of your formal variables, selection of your local variables in main, they are all up to you. So this is where you have to follow the programming ethics. Don't use students names, don't use your names, don't use my name. Okay, so you have to use meaningful, technically, I mean, ethical names, then formulate the logic. I think I'm only talking. Am I audible? Are you following?
Sir, if we
Yeah.
give allocate memory of answer to in member function, sir, will it give L value error?
You will get L value error for the compiler, which is earlier 99 C99, which is C++99. But later compilers, I think that bug is that is not a bug. That is nothing but the application will be getting crashed for those processors. I mean, there is a there is a small difference between x86 processors and other processors. Okay, so if you work on x86 processor, you will not get error. But if you work on other processors like AMD and other processors, where the compiler packages are not updated with the latest release of C++, there is a possibility of miscellaneous results, or your application may be crashed. I know I have not yet answered. As of now, you can take the answer as the L value error. As of now, you can take the answer as L value error. Okay, because you cannot declare logically, technically speaking, you cannot declare a local variable, and you cannot allocate memory inside a local function and use the same function without deleting in some other variable. That gives you error. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, just 1 minute. I think some pop-up has came. What is this? This is Teams. Okay, leave it. Anyway, so now the point that I'm trying to highlight here is, if you are getting a larger problems like this is okay, or assume that there is a case study. For example, assume that you are asked to construct a member function which talks about the efficiency of a cricket bowler. Okay, so you write a member function whose function name is something. That something here is get count, such that you create the number of innings being played by the bowler at runtime, meaning this fellow at runtime, and identify the number of innings where the bowler has taken more than 5 wickets, where P is 5. Identify the number of innings where the bowler has taken less than 2 wickets, or in between 2 to 5 wickets. Got my point? The thing is, story is same. Sorry, logic is same, but story is different. You getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for problems of this nature, if you start writing with hash include, and then because it's like a project, it's actually is a project, isn't it? It's a bowler, then bowler name has to be maintained. Everything has to be maintained. So you have to assume, and then whatever has been asked in the technicality, as the technicality of your question, that logic needs to be brought out. So now here are the steps. Let me repeat the steps. So if a problem which is in part B, which is a logic driven problem, which is a real world problem, like the example that I have cited is given, which is counting the number of innings with more than 5 wickets or less than 2 wickets, or in between 2 and 5 wickets, or another case study, for example, identify the number of days the stock market is booming beyond let us say $10,000 or 10,000 points, Nifty. Okay, are below 5,000 points, and in between 5,000 to 10,000 points. Okay, allowing the market forecaster to create the number of records to be maintained at runtime. Okay, so I have now created two stories with the same logic. You're getting my point? So if a problem of this is given, then first you have to assume a class. For example, in the bowler class, you can say that class bowler. In the stock exchange, you can say class stock. Okay. Then private int star a. You use the same logic. You can use the same logic. Okay. And the point is, first identify the class name. Then the data items that needs to be identified as the private data members, also the appropriate member functions. This is step one. Step two, write the class. Start writing the class and reflecting only those attributes which are being asked for you to implement, and unnecessarily don't declare additional variables and invite troubles to yourself. This is step number two or point two. Point three, don't unnecessarily create pointers unless otherwise being stated in the problem. This is point three. Point four, never ever commit mistakes which are technically illegal. For example, writing this is equal to null. Gone. That means you don't know that the variable cannot be initialized. Okay. Or writing a array starting from I is equal to 1 and then less than or equal to, gone. That means you don't know how to declare an array. So this is point number 4. Okay, then point number 5, for other logics, okay, where the problem is being not mentioned, but without which you cannot complete the entire solution, you can simply write dot dot dot. It can have anything. That could be the data members, that could be the member functions. This is point number 6. Point number 7. Okay, so don't also focus more on main. You write main to the segment of the code which is important for representing your logic. Okay, this is point number 7. And point number 8, don't unnecessarily put it all this in English, because who is evaluating also knows C++. Are you following my point? So whatever I have told, if you try to put that into sentences, it will take 4 hours for you. Yes or no? Are you following? Hello, Unana Poyana. Hello?
Yes, sir, audible.
Yeah, okay. What happened? Akshay is not there? Energetic voice. Akshay, you're not there. She's absent, is it? Okay. Okay, so let me check the list of participants. Yesterday there were 19 students who are present. Today there are 23 students who are present. Okay. Anyway, but the points what I am discussing, I think makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, I know the students who know the logics and who know the solutions, but can't able to reproduce in a way that needs to be reproduced at the time of exams. Okay, so above all points, um, common sense is the very important point. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, so let us proceed. I think we are stuck with only first example. Almost 50 minutes is up. Next. Any points, any doubts you are willing to point, or you need anything, anything need to be clarified? Please come in. Shall I proceed with other examples?
Yes, sir.
Is it Akshaya? Okay. Fine. So let us do the other problems. I think this insertion and deletion you can do. Again, notice that be careful whether you are asked to write a member function or a function or a friend. Okay. For example, if you are asked to write a friend, then you cannot define a friend without a class. So you have to use friend. You have to pass the object. While you are passing the object, you have to maintain constant qualifier. Okay, if the logic talks about only data accessibility, not the data modification. Okay, so now let us move on to the next questions. Next other questions. Assume that we know we have done the sorting and searching, right? Sorting and searching. Probably we'll take question number 6. The slide is visible. I hope the slide is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so assume that you are asked to the elements are sorted form or not. Assume that you are asked to you are asked to write a C++ function to accept an array and print whether the elements are in sorted form or not. So let us write the solution. This is for 2 marks. So I'm deleting this. Okay. Now what? Write a C++ function to accept an array of n elements and check if they are in sorted ascending order or not. Again, don't start writing from hash include. What has been asked? Function. So assume that your function name is in order. Is your function name. What has to be passed? An element. Elements of one-dimensional array. So that is nothing but int star. Then number of elements, int n. Then what has to be returned? Whether they are in order yes or no. That means it is Boolean data type. So this is your function prototype. This is function prototype. Okay. Now let us write the function definition. So is in order. Let us say A is your array and n is the number of elements. So what could be the logic? Yes, what could be the logic? If they are in order, then you can starting from I is equal to 0, I is less than n, I plus plus. If you find any element which is a of I, such that if this is greater than a of I plus 1, but when you are indexing I plus 1, you can't loop up to n because you can loop up to only n minus 1, isn't it? So if you find any element, any predecessor element a of I such that if it is less than the next element a of I plus 1, then there is no point in checking, you can return false. So if you are done with the entire loop, then you can return true. That's it. Yes or no? Are you there? Are you following? Please talk to me. Are you following?
Pencil.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So assume that the same question is being asked as a member function. I'm again repeating now the same logic. Shall I proceed? Before that, have you understood the logic part? Prototype. This is half mark. Line number 4 is half mark. Line number 6 structure, and then the program structure, like the way that you are writing the function definition, along with appropriate usage of the keywords and the variables, and the syntax of your program will carry another half mark, with your logic with another 1 mark. If there is a bug, for example, I is less than, if you write only n, you will get minus half. Okay. And if you write starting from I is equal to 1, then again minus half. If you write I is less than or equal to n, then you will get minus 1. And if you don't even pass array, okay, if you don't even pass array, you are not even accepting the array, then you will get minus 2. Okay. Another way is you can use array subscript also. This is also fine. This is also fine. Okay, either this or this. This is always better. Okay, shall I proceed? So assume that, shall I proceed? I need a confirm. One of the
Yes, sir.
participants.
Yes.
Right. So assume that you are asked to convert the same thing as a member function, as a 3 marks question or as a 4 marks question, as a member function. Then what changes you have to do? In class, take a sample. Okay. Then bring your array. Also assume that accept an array of n elements at runtime and check if they are in sorted ascending order or not. Okay. And if it is for 4 marks, it is better to write the accessor because reading the elements only is there. Otherwise, what? Private, 2 elements. One is int star a, don't initialize. Next, n. Next, public. Okay. Next, constructor. Next, your function name. Now, in the function name, you don't need this fellow and you don't need this fellow. What only? Because this and this both are accessible. And you write dash dash dash. Here also you can write still some more elements, dash dash dash. Finally, destructor. Okay. Then what? This is not required. Then what? This is a member function. Bool. Where is it defined? In sample. What is the member function? Is in order. What are the list of arguments? It is void. Then what? This is same. This is same. Then what? You need to write the constructor. What is the class name? Constructor name? Sample. And I think you know how to write the constructor. Complete this. Okay. You know this, right? Sir, no. Ask the user, meaning cout. Enter the number of elements. Just now we have written cin, take n, write a, new, end of n, assume that it is valid. Then what? Then for, okay, no, don't take elements here. So once the elements are found, then you can use probably void set values of void. Okay, so this is where you write void sample set values of void. So already n is there, already data is also there. Now here you loop it. Loop from where? Starting from I is equal to 0 till I is less than n. I plus plus. N is also accessible. Then what? Then what? Accept the data. What data? Array. What array? Cout. Enter a of I. And then what? Meaningful manner. And then cin. Take that into a of I. So I think we have done everything. Okay, so after this, start writing destructor. Sample, sample of void, and then you need to delete here, delete of a. Okay, and then you write main. So you take sample s1, and then dash dash dash. Take s1 dot set set s1 dot set values, and then you use if s1 dot is in order. If this return true, then cout they are in order. They are in order. Else, say that they are not in order. And then dash dash dash. Clear? This is what has to be written. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Next, let us assume you are asked to find, similarly, check whether all the elements are in Fibonacci form or not. Same thing. Okay, so what do you mean by Fibonacci form? Fibonacci form, third element has to be first and second element sum. Okay, so is order logic only will change. So in is order, you take two variables. Say first is equal to initially a of 0. Then you take second is equal to initially a of 1. Okay, and then you have to start from, I think something is missing here. I is equal to 0, 1, 2. You have to start from I is equal to 2 till I is equal to n minus 2, till I is equal to n minus 2 or n minus 1. Let us see. Okay, so you need to make sure that I of I is double equal to first plus second. Okay, so I'm just putting it in operator precedence. So if this is true, if this is not true, then I'll return 0. Otherwise, I'll return 1. But now, every time I have to change, first as second, and second has to be a of I. Okay, so meaning assume that I have a array something like this. So let us assume I have 2 comma 6 comma 6 plus 2 8 comma 8 plus 6 8 plus 6 is 14 comma 22 comma 36, so on. So whether they are in Fibonacci order or not, that has to be that has to be finalized. So I have to repeat till I is equal to 2 3 4 5. Yeah, till I is less than n. Yeah, that is correct. Are you following? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Correct, sir.
Okay. Now let us go to the next question. This you work it out. Return the starting index of an array from where the longest ascending order within the array sample is available. Okay, so for example, you have an array like this, and then you have, let us say, 6, then 65, then 78, then 300, then 500, then let us say 67, then 23, like this. Okay, so let me intentionally keep 268, then 9 here, no, not 9, 5 here. So from here to here, the elements are in ascending order. How many? 3. Now from here to here, also the elements are in ascending order, but this is lesser than earlier. So as of now, this is the largest